well, then you're taking away and you're making it less personal. And you always want to keep it as if they're the only person that's listening, and you're talking right to that person, because that's the way that you can truly connect with what you're sharing, and literally having a conversation with each and every person. But as I say, each and every person, each person.
Yeah, exactly. You have to talk to your audience, personally, because the audience
Absolutely.
makes you, My last question to you is, what is your advice to people who want to get started in radio?
One more time, the reception broke out.
Okay, what is your advice to people who want to get started in radio?
What is my advice? My advice to anything that you do is you have to love it first, and not be afraid that by loving it that you're going to eventually take your love out of it. Because anytime that you do something, whether it's for a living or whether it's for a hobby, the moment that you feel like it is work, and it is work, I mean, there is no doubt about it, no matter what you do, even my Power Pop Stew, my Power Pop Stew broadcast that I have over the internet. I did that for 5 years, and I did it purely for the love of it. Never monetized off of it. I could probably count on both my hands how many $1 donations I had to keep it going. So it was totally self-funded. It was totally and completely my own project that I did, all basically for myself and for the artists that I was promoting and continue to promote, even though I've had the show on hiatus for a while. But it's because I love to do it, and even though my business that actually pays for my mortgage and my food on the table and everything else, and radio turned from a career back into a hobby, it's something that you'll wear yourself out, and a lot of disc jockeys and air personalities only spend a very short amount of time doing radio work. At first, it's because they thought that it was going to become much more of a career and pay a really great wage and everything else, because, my goodness, if you're on the radio and all these people are listening to you, why doesn't it pay more money? Well, it just doesn't. It's radio. Right when I was in college was when radio started to not pay as much. Only to a few key positions in the radio stations outside of the salespeople did radio pay a decent wage. But for everybody else, it paid a wage, but not what you would expect. You're not a superstar. You're not a movie star, and it goes the same with actors, because I've done quite a bit of film acting. What people don't realize is the actors that they see on television, they're the ones that make it, but they're a very small percentage of all the actors that are out there in the world that are performing in community theater for nothing. It actually costs them do they do it? They do it because they love it. And for radio, if you're going to love it, it also means that you run the risk of burning out and not loving it. So my advice would be to truly love it. You have to know that you might become a huge success, or you might be like the 99% of the rest of radio personalities that can make just as much money working at McDonald's. But the reason why they're not working at McDonald's and they're working on radio, or maybe doing both, is because they truly love what they're doing. And that would be my advice to anybody coming up. And there's some additional advice, and I notice it a lot, particularly with brand new people coming out of school. Radio is one of those careers, just like television, where I would never recommend not getting a higher education of some sort. Simply going to a broadcasting school for a year will not prepare you for the long term. Getting a 4-year degree really helps you in that you'll hopefully become more worldly and expand the range of topics that you can talk about. I'm not saying it's a necessity, but one of the best classes that I had in college was the diction class. Literally, how to pronounce words. And one thing that I noticed with a lot of young people is their slang that they have from high school never disappears. And so when they start a radio or a television career, they're not pronouncing their T's. Like Hillary Clinton. No, it's Hillary Clinton. There's a T in there. And you notice for a lot of words where the T's are very important. And being able to say W, it's a double U. W, not W. Things like that are what you learn in diction classes. How to pronounce words correctly. And that is a must-have. You must-have if you are going into radio. Because it makes the difference between somebody sounding like an amateur and somebody sounding like a professional. Because, like I don't have what's considered the voice of God. Everybody thinks that you need that deep down, voice of God to be on the radio. I've always had a raspy voice, which is great for rock and roll, by the way, is having a raspy voice. You don't necessarily need that deep, dark, Darth Vader kind of voice, James Earl Jones kind of voice, to be successful in radio. Or even doing commercial work, which I did quite a bit of, not commercial work in the truest sense. I did some voiceover work for radio commercial and that, but I did far more work as somebody in the script, like somebody reading. I did a couple. I guess they would be played on History Channel, but where a soldier is reading a letter to his girlfriend. Well, guess what? They don't want somebody with a deep James Earl Jones kind of a voice for that. They want somebody with a natural voice. So there's work out there in doing voiceover work and narration and lots of that where they're just looking for a typical, normal. You don't have to have the voice of God, the big, booming, deep voice. There's plenty of work out there. So if you're new to radio and you know, oh, my voice isn't good enough, don't worry about that. But do worry about whether you pronounce words correctly and fully, and you hit your S's and your T's, and that you can say S without having too much sibilance, and your T's without popping the microphone with your P's every time. That's just one of the things that you should practice before you get behind a microphone, because those plosives will definitely pop the P's, and you learn how to say P without popping the microphone every time. That I would say is a number two thing, besides loving it, is diction, to what everybody going into radio should have.
Yeah, practice always makes perfect. You know, it's always good to learn.
Exactly, and I even noticed you just said that without popping your P's. So good for you, Trey.
Thank you. Well, Howard, thank you for letting me interview you. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely, a pleasure talking to you, and anytime you want to talk, you know, I'm open for you.
Thank you very much. You have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Mr. Howard Byrne, radio personality. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope we brought you some informative and entertainment today. I hope we brought you some happiness. Join us. Let's see who's next on our schedule. Join us on the 20th, that's a Saturday, when we interview singer and songwriter Mr. Glenn Brittain. Thank you very much for listening, and God bless you all, as always. Good night.